This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's meeting. I'm Eli O'Sullivan Kurtz with NNI, and before we get started, I wanted to just let everybody know a couple of quick things. So first of all, we're going to have some PowerPoint presentations today, and whenever those are shared on a screen, you'll notice that there are a bunch of video windows at the top. Keep that shared screen from being very large. Up at the top middle of your GoToMeeting window, you can see a thing that says View Everyone. You can change that to hide everyone whenever the screen is shared, and that way the shared screen will be a little bigger for you. And then the presentations today will probably give you all some questions that you're curious about. So if you have those questions, the best way to take care of those is to put them in our chat feed. You can see the chat feed button in the top right-hand corner of the GoToMeeting window. And you can type, once you click on that, you can type a message in there. We'll see it, and then we can call on you to ask the question of the presenter as we go on. So with those two things in mind, I'm passing it off to, I guess, Ed or maybe Tim to get this started.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Eli.
You bet.
I think Tim's having some technical difficulties.
We could get everyone to just chime in, tell us who you are, and that would be great. Okay, well, I guess we got everyone's name here. I don't know who caller 3 is, or caller.
One of those callers might have been me. I had to dial on the phone because I was having trouble with the PC, but I got it working now. So
maybe I'm the caller.
I think so.
Marilyn Tucker.
Okay, I didn't catch that.
Marilyn Tucker.
If everyone's read those, could we? Okay, second. Okay, I'll second it. First thing on our agenda this week is the KCPD update. I see we have a couple officers on board here, so if they could move ahead with that, that'd be great.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Officer Keeney, the Community Interaction Officer. Usually Officer Jones is the one to attend these meetings. He is out of town enjoying some reserved vacation time. I'm out of breath because I've been walking Gracemore. And so I'm on a mobile site, I guess you could say. Some of the things that we need to look at on the North Oak Focus is that we've had a couple of problem houses along the neighborhoods, and we've been really targeting them. So if you're seeing a little bit more police activity, please don't be alarmed. It's not that things are out of control, but we're starting to really be able to have some time to be able to concentrate on some key houses that have caused some problems. Now, those problems you guys have probably witnessed up and down the corridor involving theft from autos, stolen autos, and a few other incidents that have happened. So we do have some really good leads. This does not fall into Operation Legend whatsoever, so don't worry about that. So it's not dealing with violent offenders per se, but it is dealing with offenders that are actually hitting our north area. So we've got some impact squads on both sides, the North Patrol side and also on the Shoal Creek side. And they've been working with their property crimes detectives to get more information, and we are picking up people, and we're making those arrests. Some of the things that people have been brought up is they're getting tired of seeing a lot of the panhandling that's been happening up and down the corridors, and also along our North Oak corridor, going all the way up, especially up to Vivian itself. We do realize that there was a really good, interesting talking thread between the council, district council people, discussing whether or not it's time to bring back forth that ordinance that was tabled. That ordinance was a safety ordinance, and it was to basically deal with issues of people walking out in the traffic and causing a safety hazard to to pedestrians as well as traffic along those corridors. They tagged it as a possible targeting a homeless population. And our argument, it had nothing to do with the homeless population. It wasn't also against panhandling in itself. We do know that the Constitution allows people to have signs. It does allow people to ask for donations. And we're not trying to infringe upon anyone's rights. What we were talking about is people actually stopping traffic, causing an hazard to moving vehiculars and also pedestrians. So the lawyers got together, they looked at that ordinance, and they're fine tuning it. So hopefully, maybe the next session or maybe the beginning of next year, we'll see that come back up, and we'll have a little bit better powers and tools to be able to work with that. Other than that, I'll leave it up to any kind of questions.
Hey, I've got one for you, Bill, on that topic you were just talking about. It's Lance. I missed that. When did they talk about that, bringing that ordinance back?
Yeah, sorry, Lance, you weren't involved in that thread. I didn't see you at all in that email. As a matter of fact, I think I was the only CIO that was on that. I don't know if it was a top secret behind the scenes, but it was between your council person, it was between O'Neill and also Hall. And so they were discussing because they're getting a lot of complaints coming in either by emails or phone calls to their offices. And please, I hope you people keep those phone calls and keep those complaints going in to your council people, because the more pressure, the more evidence they have that people want that ordinance. And then, so I was privy to be able to look at that, Lance, but good question.
When was it?
Lance, you want me to go ahead and pull up? When I get back, I'll forward you the email. I'm kind of out and about, so I couldn't give you the exact date, but I know I saw it like last week.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll take it when you have a chance.
No problem. I'll send that to you, especially since I was already involved in it.
Lance, do you have any update on the North Oak side or the North Patrol side for North Oak?
Sure. So just to piggyback on what Bill was talking about, I was actually talking to Dan Fowler about that just a couple of days ago here, because like Bill said, that's a complaint that we get quite regularly, and those complaints are consistent and if not increasing. So I would love to see the council revisit that ordinance that's currently on the shelf and dust that ordinance off and give it another go. To give you a little history on that, they looked at it last year and it did not get the council, it did not get out of committee last year. But like Bill, I'm looking for my notes on that here. Like Bill, I would encourage anybody who has an interest in that ordinance being revisited to please contact your city council folks and show interest, because last year the committee didn't think it was important enough to get it out of committee. And I know, well, I've been told that last year the mayor was not supportive of it. So maybe we need to voice our opinions to try to have a conversation with the mayor to find out why he's not interested and explain the reasons why we feel it is important. To be fair. So let's see here. Tried last term, couldn't get it out of committee. The mayor was the most vocal against it.
If I could offer something here,
please.
The perspective, when I talk to the council or people downtown, their perspective on the homeless people standing corners there doesn't take the same impact, in my opinion, of the homeless people standing on our big intersections up north. They tended to see it downtown, smaller intersection, downtown, the sidewalks are smaller there. It's not that big of a deterrent. Whereas we in the Northland see, and probably further south too, and I'm trying to concentrate on our area, is that we have these bigger intersections. These guys, like it or not, are walking between cars. I see it every day up in North Oak. And I don't think that the council or the mayor appreciates the fact that it is more of a hazard up here than it might be downtown, because so many people are walking around downtown. And there's not that many people walking around at the major intersections of the Northland. So I don't know what the approach would be, the wording would be, but something to the fact that these are big intersections, lots of turn lanes, right turns, left turns, everything else. And I think it takes on a different dynamic up north than it does in the downtown area.
Hey, Tim.
People, they look at it just from the down. I think from just in my conversations with some of these downtown locations. Does that make sense?
Hey, Tim. This is John DeBush. I used to be a planner down there, and the officers will probably know this. Downtown and Midtown, they don't physically touch anybody, but they do have those ambassadors that clean up things, and they will stand there with them, make them very uncomfortable. And that does kind of get people moving along. You don't have anything like that in North Oak or in some of the other intersections. They basically make them feel extremely uncomfortable. And I know on Main Street, because I worked on Main Street a lot, they basically got to know all these people that they just left and went to different places. And so that is part of the difference also. But the officers, I'd like to hear your perspective on that.
Well, I can speak for my son, who was a part of the downtown area when he was working at the towers for U.S. Bank. And listening to him when he would go to the chamber meetings and the different meetings down there, it's interesting. Their perspective was totally different than what Jolie Justice and Catherine Skills and all them were talking about last year. That they were talking about how they had been approached and verbally, pretty much assaulted verbally when they wouldn't give any kind of money to the panhandlers downtown. I know my son, he told me it happened to him probably every time he went out to lunch to walk 2 or 3 blocks. So I don't think that it's not an issue with the constituency. I think what the issue was, by listening to what was going on during our meetings down in City Hall, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lance, but you had special interest groups that did not want to deter from possibly having ordinances that might affect bicyclists and other pedestrian movements, and also other nonprofit organizations that might go out and solicit funds along our streets and roadways. Now, my argument was different than Teresa Lohr's. She stated to them, which was what really killed the actual ordinance, which she stood up and said, well, then they can get a special permit. Well, in Springfield and also in the lower district courts in Springfield, Missouri, when they took that same approach, then what it did, it became a biased actual ordinance, because now you're targeting a segment of society who cannot afford an actual permit. And so to say that it's okay for a firefighter to stand out in the middle of the road because they have money, and then those who don't have money to get a permit can't stand in the middle of the road, it was the argument by the special interest down in Springfield when this was brought up with their ordinances. Now, Colorado Springs, they did something totally different. They did something interesting. They made a blanketed approach. They said it's illegal for anyone to go out and be in the streets. And what they ended up doing is, for those nonprofits, they had certain meters along their downtown other areas where you can donate, kind of like what they had at Zona Rosa for your parking meters, and donate to nonprofit organizations. So I know that the different committees have looked at all the different things. I know I've sent out many of the different city ordinances and different city ideas involving it. Right now, the biggest push that I've seen so far, and again, Lance, I know you like me to send all, I'm out and about. So, but if you want to, you can get on Jasper Mirable's Facebook page, and he started a petition in the Watkins Mills area, and it was dealing with cleaning up Watkins Mill, the park itself, and how it was affecting the actual 103rd state line corridor there, and the amount of people that were panhandling, camping, and sleeping underneath the bridges down there by the river. Within about a day or two, I think he had over 1,000 signatures. So that's another place that's not north of the river where they're seeing issues. So to answer that question, Tim, I think that the constituency overall, when we saw them all show up and crowd our chambers down in City Hall last year, they do want to see some change. We don't want to target a segment of our population. At the same time, we don't want to not help a certain segment of our population, but we want to get them to get the help the proper way. And the proper way is not to play in the streets.
Completely agree with you, Bill, but I've worked downtown for 21 years, and I don't have any problem with those people. No problem saying no to them. So maybe it's just a different approach, but half those people are not destitute, as you know. It's a business. And getting them off the street is very, very important. I am always concerned someone's going to get hit and killed. It's just not a safe. It should be a public safety issue in my book.
This is Justin Sanborn, and I'll tag on to it. About a week or two ago, I reached out to Officer Jones, and Keeney, I don't know if he spoke to you on this one or not, but we actually it's turned into more than just panhandling. They started kind of setting up a home underneath of I-29 in North Oak on the westbound side. And what alerted me more to that wasn't so much that, I mean, it's disturbing, but they were actually having an argument with each other, and one of them was actually standing in the lane of traffic right there in that lane that starts to go to the oncoming, the on-ramp for I-29 southbound. And he did not move, and they were having an argument, and that's when I kind of had to stop and go around them, and that's when I noticed they have like a house set up underneath of there with pallets and clothesline and all that. So it's moved to more than just we show up with signs and then leave. And I think it's become a traffic hazard because right there on and off ramps and stuff, traffic merges, somebody's going to get hit.
I think we could probably spend a lot more time listing example after example. I'll give you one more though for the Northland. Berry and North Oak just recently became a problem because folks are standing out in the median, panhandling. And what they're doing is they're buying alcohol there at the drugstores or gas stations in the area. And then there's single serve alcohol containers being littered all over the place. And then you've got drunk homeless guys who want to be close to where they work there. So they're setting up homeless camps, and then Gashland Elementary School is right there. And there's only a chain link fence between the kids and the homeless crew that's hanging out, drinking and camping out. And I mean, this goes on and on. That's why all I can do is bring it to the attention of those that are engaged, and hope that we have creative ways of reaching out to our city council to let them know that this is an important matter to us. And I'll go ahead and fill in the blanks if there was any left from what Bill was alluding to. One problem last year was that the fire department opposed the ordinance specifically because of the muscular dystrophy drive that they do with the boots on the corners. So that might be one hurdle that we would need to find a solution to. And Bill, I think, was summing that up, that if you cut out for them to do what they do, that's when you get into bias. And just to put that out there, if anyone wants to take this on or dig into this a little bit, those are the issues that are going to be in front of you, I believe. That's all I'll say about that.
Okay.
Thanks, Officer Lenz. Hey, Tammy Henderson, I see you're on. Just mentioning the Gashland school situation that Officer Lenz just mentioned, is there some way we could tie that to, and I'm just trying to reach her a little bit, another angle from the school district to say, because these guys are staying in the corners, they want to be close to where the action is, they're using, setting up camps right adjacent to our schools. Is there something there we could think about?
Let me work with our safety and security people, because I wasn't really aware of that. But yeah, Gashland's right there, right at Berry and North Oak. I have not heard anything.
That came from Bob McLeese. The complaint did.
Come from Rob. Okay, well that's our guy.
Yeah, he reached out to us directly on that one because it was starting to get out of hand.
Okay, all right. Well, I just hadn't heard about that, and I thought I hadn't heard anything from the schools, but evidently they've already talked to Rob. So yeah, especially if he's already contacted KCPD, then he knows about it. We'll have to think about. I mean, we meet with our council people once a month. The school district does, and we have a meeting coming up next week. It might be a good idea to mention to them that we're starting to have some problems with homeless encampments near our schools, and that could be one way to approach it from a school district standpoint.
And to add on to that, they're by your schools because of the lucrative corners that they operate at.
Yeah.
That's the association there.
Yeah.
That little green space that's right there at Gashland. This is not a new complaint. It's been going on since I've been a CIO, and I was able to get them to clear the brush back, and they wouldn't go all the way up to the fence line, which kind of defeated the purpose. You probably remember when I had that done. What was it, like a year or two ago?
Mm-hmm.
And then since then, what's happened is you have that underbrush growing again. I went by there yesterday, and you could see that a new person decided to come in and put a bunch of cardboard in the little tree lined by the fence line. And so basic crime prevention through environmental design techniques of clearing out that unwanted brush line and those areas where we really don't need that brush takes away the ability for them to be camping out at that corner as well.
So, hey, Bill, just
a
a heads up, Bill. Rick Jones and I were out there last week, and we spoke with the owner of the Walgreens there, and they were supposed to have a crew come clear that out over the weekend or this week, I forget which. So that's those actions are set in motion. Just FYI.
Yeah, sadly to say, that's great, but the problem is they did that the last time. They wouldn't go all the way up to the fence line. And so we were still having them come up to where those trees are still existing. You had trees that were that tall going all the way up to the roadway. And where you see the trees where now it stops, they cleared out all the trees up there. And when I got a hold of them 2 or 3 years ago, I asked them, why wouldn't it go? They said because it might be encroaching upon the school property. When I talked to the school, they're saying, no, that's Walgreens. So anyway.
So yeah, you clearly know way more about this problem than me, and I cannot speak with any more detail than I have already. But when we were out there, there was definitely a misunderstanding of who owned what property and who was responsible of what property. And I think there might have been some resolution there where Walgreens' eyes were open to the fact that they had more responsibility for more property than they realized.
Brandon, do you guys do anything about that by any chance, or can you make any recommendations?
Yeah, we probably could. I have to go take a look at it, see how bad it is. But I mean, it's Walgreens property. Looking at the map.
I know that's how we did the last time, Brandon. Remember? We put some pressure on them.
Yeah, the Walgreens manager was trying to tell us that wasn't her responsibility, but the property management company came out and said, oh, no, it is. And she, the Walgreens manager, learned that she was responsible for a whole lot more property than she realized. And that was last week.
Okay. Hey, I think Tim, why don't we table this discussion? I'm going to talk to Deb about maybe having a meeting to kind of start thinking about how we organize our conversation with the city council regarding this. We did last time, and I think it's a good time to maybe begin that conversation, specifically with school getting ready to get started. And in my opinion, we're seeing a larger group of folks that are a little more aggressive than they were last year in their panhandling techniques. They definitely know the ordinance, so they stay on the public property. They don't go off of it. And I think we need to maybe sit down and talk about that and maybe get some good examples that we can talk with city council about and begin to give them some ammunition to begin to talk about getting that ordinance back in front of to do something about it. Is everybody okay with that? And I can report
Ed,
back.
I just forwarded you an email that's got some info that might be helpful to you in regard to those efforts. Thank you.
Okay. I just think it'd be good to have everybody on the table. I'm sure Vivian Road folks would love to do that as well. And I'm sure most of the Northland would love to talk about it. And I'm wondering if we don't invite the guy that owns Jaspers to the meeting to talk about it from the Southland. And, you know, maybe between all of us, we could actually make a change in our city to make it safer. And I think, in my opinion, much more safe to travel. These guys on the corner create another thing to look at while you're driving, and I don't want anybody getting hurt, and I certainly don't want them to get hurt. But I think it speaks volumes about the economy at the moment, and like John said, a lot of them are not really homeless. They're just doing it for business. And so I would like to nip that opportunity in the bud if at all possible.
So I have one more thing.
Yeah.
One more thing as far as a crime report on the North Patrol side. I don't know if the group is interested in as far north as 101 Northeast Vivian Road, which is the Northtown Autoplex there, Northtown Mitsubishi. if you guys are interested in that at all. They had a burglary and had some cars stolen last week. And in our crime meeting, I heard the reporting officers talk about how poor their internal security was. Their security alarm did not catch the burglars inside of their business breaking in or while inside, and the keys to the cars were available, which is, I mean, we see this over and over. Why car dealerships have keys to cars available is just beyond me. But anyhow, I stopped by to talk to them about these areas where they might be able to improve their own internal security options. I didn't get very far, but I did get the name and phone number of the owner, Larry Lefevre. So if anybody in the group, I have not called Larry yet. I intended to do so today. My workday starts at 1 p.m. So you guys are first on the agenda. I intend to call Larry Lefevre today. If any of you know Larry Lefevre and can influence him to do some things better at his businesses, that would help all of us reduce property crimes in the area. So he's definitely a soft target.
Sounds like there is. Okay.
Hey, I've got a
Go ahead.
question, Tim, if you don't mind, for the officers.
Yeah.
Is there any update on the hookah bar?
No, but Rick Jones was spearheading that. So unless he's conveyed anything to Bill Keeney, I think we would need Rick for that one, Ed.
Okay. Bill, anything?
Well, Lance seemed to have a lot of good information there, so I thought maybe since he might have some on that hookah bar as well. But so far, what I know of that Rick has conveyed to Shoal Creek is that we went out there together. We did a SEPTED for the owner and showed him some of the things that would lead to problems. One of the things that we want to make sure is that as we deal with these owners of these businesses, that we don't do bias policing as well. So we do offer the same services regardless of the different owners of the properties. At the same time, we did inform him that we were getting other entities involved, that we also told him that it was a topic of interest in our crime meetings, and that we were looking at him as possibly a solution to end any of those other problems. We then went down and talked to the Vietnamese restaurant, which is right next door to it. We got to talk to the owner and to the management there, and they have good video and also good camera systems. And once we got done talking to everyone, it got kind of quiet again. And then we had a little bit of a flare up, and we went back out and we met with them. It was about maybe a week and a half ago. That was the week before I went on vacation to go see my grandbaby be born. And it seemed like things had quieted down. And so since then, we've been working with the attorney's office, and we're waiting for our next steps and directions from regulated industry.
Good. Sounds good. Thank you, officers. One thing I wanted to go back to Bridge, and North Oak, I-29 bridge, I contacted MoDOT and to have them cut back on the embankments because they grow up so high that you can't see if anyone's under the bridge unless you are actually driving under the bridge, and it's kind of difficult because you're looking up. So their response to me with Brian at MoDOT told me that they would take care of that, but they honestly are being a little bit hampered by the COVID because MoDOT does not want their crews out mowing and cutting stuff down where the homeless because of the possibility of the COVID virus. So we got that to battle. But he assured me that they would take care of it because I said, well, those aren't really camps underneath the bridge. It's just, a couple of people here and there that are camping out overnight, but they, tend to move on. So he said that he would take care of it. He tried to get it done in the next 2 weeks, and that was just the other day when I contacted him. Hopefully we'll get that
in regard to that
a little bit as well.
In regard to that, Tim, right before you forwarded that complaint to us about underneath the bridge, we had received one about, oh shoot, I'm at the wrong place. Let me go off memory here. I was trying to look at my Google map. We had received a complaint from the business there on the northeast corner of Vivian and North Oak. And behind the business, between the business and I-29, that wooded area there was homeless camps. So we had reached, and
Okay.
what they were doing is they were going from that wooded area to underneath the bridge, especially when it rained. So I reached out to MoDOT to see if MoDOT would clear out those camps behind the building, and received that same information that you did. And I even asked if they would send me the formal statement, the MoDOT statement, and they did. And basically it's a formal statement to their localized crews not to displace homeless camps right now due to COVID.
That
So
came
yeah,
from the
that is their formal
Yeah.
position. See,
Yeah,
they're
that came
following
from the-
CDC guidelines.
Yeah, that came from the CDC. I belong to the COAD Coalition for the Homeless, and I have monthly meetings with them. And when it came down, I'll be honest, guys, I was against it because part of the thing that we do with the Northland Homeless Assistance Coalition is to get the people down into the providers down in the city, and they literally tied our hands. It was a decision made by COAD, it was a decision made by the CDC, and it was a decision that was made by the other organizations that said that if we knew where they were at, we could go in and we could check them. If they did test positive, then what was happening is we were taking them to the emergency rooms, and then from the emergency rooms to be screened, they're taken down to Rediscovery where they had an actual hotel downtown. But but the problem is that we have empty camps now. And one of the empty camps that we had was along one of our parks where an assault with a hatchet took place. And it was empty, and it was on MoDOT property. And so creatively, what I did is it was no longer a camp as far as I was concerned. So what happened was I took out debris and trash out of the area and then piled it all up and asked for them to come by and pick it up. And because it was no longer camp as far as I was concerned, because it was emptied out, because lo and behold, four of the homeless people in there did test positive for COVID when we took them to the emergency room. So I agree with Lance. It's a knee-jerk reaction that was brought up by the CDC and by the state. I voiced my opinion on the committee, but it fell on deaf ears.
You will be happy to know, though, Tim, I drove by North Oak and I-29 yesterday, and it was all clear under the highway.
Good deal. Okay.
Yeah, there was a couple there this morning. It's a man and a woman on the I-29. They're on the east side, the south side, but they kind of come and go. I've seen them there a few times, but they just go up there for a little bit. They eat, then they leave. I actually got those pallets out of there last week. I think I told you, and and I occasionally, if I don't see anybody underneath that bridge and there's stuff's up there, I just go up and get it and toss it. You know, from that perspective. But I think the getting that stuff mowed, if we can get it mowed, I thought there might have been people back behind that Office Max building as well. I just never really investigated it real thoroughly, but I kind of thought that they were back there.
Yep, that's the one. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on from the
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate it, and we appreciate you. I hope you all know that. Okay, moving on. The status of North Oak Trafficway. Really nothing to report. I'm going to try to get our what do you call it? The project manager for the expansion of, or not expansion, but the rebuild of North Oak from 42nd Street, Bartlett Parkway up to Vivian Road at our next month's meeting, and hopefully a little bit of information on that. It's not scheduled to be done until 21 or fiscal year 21-22, excuse me. And so he kind of preliminary at this point, but just to get some ideas out there. So we've kind of talked about the hookah bar here again, looking at the agenda, update on the vacant bank building. Without Mo here, we don't really know that, but I can tell you,
Yeah.
I'm sure some people
Tim,
drive down here.
Tim, I talked to him today. I'd love to share with you what I've learned.
Okay, that's right.
There's a couple of items. He's not going to move forward on anything other than to maintain the property for now. With COVID-19, he said, I just can't open anything. I can't do anything that I want to do at that property, but I'm open to some suggestions. He said, I have found out that what you shared with me in the letter that we sent to him, that a car dealership won't work there.
he has had a few other companies approach him about renting that space. And I think it'd be good. He wanted to come and literally called and said, I can't make it today. So I'm going to try to get him lined up for next month to come and talk. But he said, we're holding off for now. I'm going to maintain that building. It'll look good. We're going to continue landscaping. We're going to continue to do what needs to be done to make sure that that property doesn't go in the wrong direction. I mentioned meeting with Officer Lenz to talk about maybe some safety things that he could do while it's empty. I also talked to him about cameras, so it might be a good conversation to have. Officer Lenz, I'll share with you his phone number so you can call and talk to him. He had been approached actually by the DMV to maybe open that up as a DMV site for license plates and, driver's license stuff. So that might not be a bad use for it. But he would like to have ideas if we have them. If you all want to share them with me, I will gladly pass them on to him until we can have a meeting with him. But I do apologize. I had him lined up and he called and said he couldn't make it. He's taking his wife to the hospital. So I just would say that he was very earnest about wanting to make sure that that building stays good. And he just doesn't know what to do with it because COVID is there and he can't do cars. So he's trying to figure out what else he could do there. I think it'd be good in the vacancy of knowledge to be able to help him with maybe some ideas for that site. So that's what I know.
What, remind me again, the limitations are no car lot and no like convenience store thing, I thought. What are the limitations on that property?
The limitations on that property, because it's on a parkway,
Right.
he can have a car lot, but all the cars have to be indoors. So that building doesn't allow for it to be,
No.
with a glass front to have the cars in a showroom-like setting.
We don't need another car lot down there.
No, and he said it wasn't cost effective to do it. So he's trying to figure out what else he could do with that property now that he owns it.
He's
So
trying
I
to
think
figure
it's
out what we
important.
could suggest to him.
And Tammy, a few years ago, Casey's tried to go in there, and the neighbors just went berserk. And so they're pretty. They got champagne taste on a beer budget, as they say. They really want something super nice there, and I think that's something that's functional would be really good. So,
I mean, I was excited if we got a Casey's there just because they're a good operator, and I thought that but I that's what I just wanted to know, what suggestions we could make that were realistic and not something that there's no chance in the world would go there.
I might have missed this, but what was his intent? Was his intent a car lot, or I mean, what did he buy it for? What is he?
Yeah, he did. He started getting. He started getting electricians wiring stuff up. He probably didn't know he had to go to the city, and we were contacted, and pretty soon we had to, look at him very carefully and let him know that he could not just do that.
He's been before the plan commission before. He knows.
That's ridiculous.
Not on that side, on a
I
different.
love everybody, Tammy,
I know.
But it's hard to say what to put in that corner because the bank isn't going to work there. It is not a huge site.
No,
and so I know that the neighbors have a lot of concerns about noise, smells, and everything else, but they do live right off of North Oak, which is a major street. And we always have this issue in Midtown. People live right off of Main Street. It's going to be loud. There's going to be businesses. So we just have to figure out maybe not the use so much, but the design and the buffering and everything else. And it's a tough call because you probably have to get rid of that building, and that's expensive.
Yeah.
So it's been something that we've been. I think Deb was here. This is something that she's been dealing with for 15 years probably. So.
Jocelyn, I didn't know if you knew anybody in the commercial real estate business that might help him think through what he could do with it and how we might market it better.
I sure do. And that's who he should have talked to before buying it. So what's
Yeah.
done is done. What he needs now is not a commercial agent. He needs probably an attorney or an advocate for the city or another commercial agent to list it for him if he can't do what he wants there.
Well, it might just also be good to see what kind of what kind of market there is for different uses and just give him ideas. We do that sometimes, just about what might be missing from this area, and you know, everything from A to Z, and maybe there'll be something there that he could be happy with, and the neighbors
Right.
and elected officials.
Okay, sounds good, everybody. I will say this. I will say this is that he's got a landscape guy down there every day.
Good.
He is really cleaning up that back lot, cleaning up the front. I mean, he's edging everything. In all honesty, I think that bank building lot looks better than the CVS across the street. The CVS lot is horrible. There's trash all over the place. I pick it up at the bus stop 3-4 times a week. They got a trash can right there. And Mo did put a small little trash can out by his bus stop so that the people would throw their trash in there. So kudos to Mo so far, because he is saying that he's going to take care of the property, and he has cleared out truckloads of brush on the sides and the back. So I'm happy with that, and we'll just see if we can't help him get a viable business that the community will go for. Enjoy, and can enhance our corridor as well. So any other thoughts?
You would think he would do something drive-through, like COVID-19, drive-through, takeout, whatever. There's all kinds of stuff. I don't know. Don't listen to me.
We value your opinion, Jocelyn. You know that.
I've been
Anyone
bitching
else
about
wanna
that building for years, so I'm just going to stop and let it sort itself out.
Anyone else have a comment? Anyone else have a comment on anything?
No.
Is there any other new business we want to tackle or bring up?
Tim, I'd love to have Morgan talk about the KC Spirit playbook, if that would be okay.
Absolutely.
All right, Morgan,
Absolutely.
it's yours.
Okay, I see here. Get the right screen shared. So I got about a little less than 15 minutes, so I will try and give you guys the main points on here. So we are updating the comprehensive plan for Kansas City. It is, the current one that we have is called Focus, which many of you probably know, and it's about 23 years old, so it is time for us to update it for today's Kansas City, which is a lot different than it was in 1997. The comprehensive plan is basically a document that helps to guide land use decisions in Kansas City, but it also provides recommendations in a lot of other policy areas like education, equity, transportation, all kinds of different things. The focus document covers so much that it actually had to be broken up into several different books. And it's a massive document that I don't think even I have all of the pieces right now. There's so many different books that are part of it. So we're hoping that in this update, we will still be able to accomplish what Focus accomplished in covering all of those topic areas, but without creating such a massive document. And it's very important because this is one of the main efforts that the city can do to reach out to the public and get their input on what they want the future of Kansas City to look like. Right now, we're doing everything online, attending a lot of virtual meetings like this one, and we are hoping to figure out ways that we can get out into the public safely at some point. But for right now, we're just trying to get as many people aware as possible and to participate with us and let us know what they think. So like I said, right now we're in that phase where we're just we're listening, we're getting feedback, we're doing polls and activities on our online engagement tool, which I'll show you in just a second. And as we go through the process, we're going to take all that feedback and we're going to filter it down into the main topic areas that Kansas Cityans have told us mean the most to them. And from there, we'll create our goals, we'll create our recommendations, we'll actually write the document, and we're hoping to have it before council in 2022. So this is what the focus imagery looked like back in 1997. And that document was built on two main areas. First is this principle of policy. These policy areas were just the core of what the document was based around, the goals that it set for itself, and then the recommendations that came from those goals to meet these aspirations, like developing jobs for the future, creating a secure city, things like that. And it also was built upon this list of building blocks. So community anchors, connecting corridors, these policies that gave them a driving focus on what they wanted to accomplish with the comprehensive plan. These policies and these building blocks, it's very likely that what we're going to see in the new comprehensive plan is very similar to these lists. But of course, it's just going to depend on the feedback that we're getting from the community. If they're telling us that these are still important and still need to be worked on, then great, we're going to continue it forward and update it. If they're telling us that there's new issues we need to focus on, that's great too. That's also what we'll do. And also back in 1997, Focus was the only citywide planning document that we had. But right now, we have also all of these plans that we're working with. And our department is right now reaching out to all the city departments and local agencies that help to implement these plans. We want to make sure that that the new comprehensive plan is working with all these other plans so that we're complementing their own direction, their own recommendations that they're making, that we are directing people to reference those plans when they're looking at those specific policy areas, instead of us coming up with our own recommendations that may or may not be in tandem with what they're trying to do. So we don't want to redo work that we've already done. Oop, wrong button. There we go. So we also have these area plans that my division, the Long Range Planning Division, works on. There are 18 area plans that cover Kansas City, different areas of the city. You likely live in one of these if you live within Kansas City, Missouri city limits. These area plans are similar to a comprehensive plan. They're constructed similarly. They're put together the same way as far as community engagement, but these are very specific plans to specific areas, and they really get down to the details of what they recommend for those neighborhoods. So it's a little bit different. And then this imagery, you may have seen this around town. We're starting to put up our imagery and our branding on the kiosks around town. We're trying to get billboards out there. Finding ways to make the public aware other than online has been a little bit tricky, but we're working on it. So it's the Spirit of Kansas City painting from the 1950s. We wanted to take that, we wanted to update it for today with updated icons that you see in the background, a diverse cast of characters that are taking the place of the one person in the original painting. So, and then the color is just bright, it's engaging, it's fun. We're really big fans of this. So like I said, with those principles of policy and the building blocks that were part of Focus, we have kind of created our own list of topics and value systems that we think will likely be the core of the new comprehensive plan. Of course, this list is up to change depending on what kind of feedback we're getting from the public, what they're telling us is important. And the difference between those two lists you see there, topics, those are going to be like the big policy areas that we're building the document on and we're making recommendations for. And value systems is a way to make sure that our plan is really thoughtfully approaching all of those policy areas and viewing them through those lenses, such as equity, mutual benefit, that type of thing. So far we launched our website. We have been sending thousands of emails. We've done a ton of social media posts. We've presented at dozens of these virtual meetings since March. And we're always trying to think about how we can improve our outreach efforts in reaching out to the populations that are typically hard for us to engage with even under normal circumstances, let alone in a time where we had to take everything digital at the very last minute. So we're constantly working through that. We're constantly getting feedback on how we can improve our practices. This is what the website looks like. Playbook.kcmo.gov. It's our primary online engagement tool. There is a ton of stuff that you can find there. We're having some events coming up that we're starting to announce. We'll have those posted to the website. We've got polls and activities every week that are new, and you can always go back and participate in old polls and activities. We don't take them down. We're constantly downloading new responses to those. So if you hadn't had a chance to participate yet, do not worry. You can go back and take all of those other activities and polls that we've already done. And you can also find KCMO by the numbers, which is our data book that our data guys in our department put together. It's very cool, and it gives you a good idea of how much Kansas City has changed over the last 20 years in a multitude of those important policy areas like transportation, housing, population, that type of thing. And this is another thing on our site that we've got. It's our 5 big questions survey. This is the very big, broad, general survey that we post to get people started thinking about their city, what they love about Kansas City, what they would like to improve about Kansas City, and the things that are concerning them the most. This is providing a lot of the base from which we will build the document. So we're really encouraging everyone, please go and sign up and register, participate in our polls and activities. We have a virtual town hall that we just announced that we're going to have on August 27th at 5 p.m. It will be online, and we are hoping to provide a little bit of information about the comprehensive plan update process, but most of that town hall, we want to treat it as just having a conversation with Kansas Cityans about what they want this plan to address. Please let your friends and family know that this is going on, that they should be participating. Honestly, this is one of the best direct to city staff lines that you can get as far as letting us know what you want for your city. And if you're part of another local organization, neighborhood group that you want us to come talk to, just let us know. We are happy to come. So that's the website there, playbook.kcmo.gov. And that is our email address, playbook@kcmo.org. Feel free to send us any questions or concerns or requests for us to come meet with you. And just in case, there's also Gerald Williams and I's personal contact information, so you can also send something to us as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions in these last couple minutes.
Nicely done.
Got it just under the wire.
Yeah, thanks, Morgan. Just so folks know, we haven't had any questions come in the chat just yet, but I did post a link to the playbook.kcmo.gov website there. So if you want to join the conversation, and we would, of course, encourage you to do so, you can visit the website to learn more.
Thank you, Josh, or Eli. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Great job, Morgan. While you were talking, I went over my other desk and I found this. Everyone can see this. This is the focus one for March for Briarcliff, 1st of 2001.
Oh, goodness.
Everybody in there of who attended. 50 people is held up at the church. Justin's name's in there. My name's in there. Of the group, many other names. So Justin and I were trying to make a difference for a long time. So
I remember that meeting.
That's really cool.
Yeah, keep this stuff handy. You never know when you might need it. So I thought I would get a kick out of that. But that sounds great. I'm excited, and you know, you got a lot more stuff from now. So, you know, different group or different programs that you have been put together and so forth and plans. So that's great. So we're excited for this to get some of the stuff.
We are too.
Does anyone else have any thoughts or any other thoughts or concerns? Anybody? All right. Well, we'll adjourn the meeting and see you next month. Thank you so much, everyone, for your participation.
Thank you.